Hello. Now, another aspect of the concord or another aspect of the use of verbs that disturb people, that pose challenges, is in the area of the use of do or does, don't or doesn't. Now, in so many cases, you find out that people, when they speak and they come across a particular point in time when there is the need to use any of these, people get confused. Now, the same rule that applies to have and has, just like I taught in the previous video, that is just the same thing that applies here. This is concord in play. This is concord working there. Now, if you just remind yourself that the first rule of concord says that when the subject is singular, that the verb has to be singular. This is the first thing you remind yourself. Then also remember that when you talk about singular for the verbs, you add s to them. It is not like in the case of nouns where you add s to form their plurals. In the case of verbs, you add s to form the singular forms of words in verbs. Now, since the rule says that when the subject is singular, the verb has to be singular, it means that whenever the subject is singular, whichever verb you are to use, there must be that one that has s. That is the singular form of verb. Therefore, where do you make use of do and does? You make use of this, does, when the subject of the sentence you are making is singular. Take for instance, if you say, if you have something like this, Andrew dash his works neatly, and you are to choose between do's and don'ts, it cannot be do because Andrew is a singular subject. This is the subject of the sentence. It is singular. Therefore, any verb that has to be used after it must be in the singular form. And the singular form of these two is does. What you should have there is Andrew does his works. Take note also that when you consider the verbs, you do not put whatever you have here into consideration. Now, Andrew does his works. Some persons will get confused because works here is plural. Please, you do not consider objects when you are choosing the verbs to use in sentences. It is the subject and the verb. The object has nothing to do with concord. So, in a case like this, Andrew does his works. You have something like, just the same way you have Obi goes to school, Obi goes to church regularly, and the rest of them. Now, that is just what happens here. S is here, S is here. When you use do, or rather, you make use of do in a situation where the subject of the sentence is plural. Take for instance, where you have they, let's use this sentence, they dash their works neatly. Now, it is in a case like this that you then bring in do. The reason is that the subject you have here is in the plural form. That is why you make use of the plural verb. This verb is plural. They do their work, and not they does their works. Andrew does his works, and not Andrew do his works. The woman dash arrive early. The woman does arrive early. There is another confusion. Some persons, the woman, will say that the verb here should have s because arrive is in the plural form. Because if you remove this, it is supposed to be the woman arrives early. But now you have arrive. The reason is that you already have an auxiliary verb here playing that role, obeying that concord. Therefore, since there is an auxiliary verb, whatever comes here should take the normal shape without the s. That is the reason. Okay, the woman does arrive early, and not the woman do arrive early. Now, this thing I just explained in this sentence particularly is the same thing that confuses people in such a situation where you have something like they they did not dash to school yesterday. And since this is talking about what happened yesterday, some people say that it should be they did not went. No. The reason is that there is an auxiliary verb here that has played that past tense form that you want it to do. Therefore, any other verb where there is an auxiliary verb, the verb maintains or the action verb there, the main verb there should maintain its main form. Okay, this is just fine. This is fine. Now, so that is about do and does. However, the rule of concord says that when the subject is singular, the verb has to be singular. There are exceptions. Where you have I or you, it must be plural. Now, Andrew does his works neatly. If you are making use of I dash my works neatly. Now, you cannot say I does because this is singular. I and you are exceptions. Wherever any of them is used, the verb to come there must be the plural form of the verb. I do my works. You do your works. That is about this. Now, the same way that you apply it here, that is just what happens there. This, what the verb you have here is the same thing that you have here. The only difference is that this is positive and this is negative. So that is just the same thing that applies. Andrew doesn't, let's say, if you want to use from here, Andrew doesn't do his works neatly. So if you know the same way, the same rule you applied here, that is what you apply here. This is plural, this is singular. This is plural, this is singular. It's just as simple as that. Now, for those who get confused about which to use between do and does and yes, don't and doesn't. For those of us who have problems with this, you can pay attention to this video and always remind yourself of how these things are applied, and you will speak perfectly. Thank you.